Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, neighbors using my driveway when I'm away and mad when I come back. Entitled stepmother wants me to stop breastfeeding. Entitled stepmother wants me to stop breastfeeding, update. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Neighbors using my driveway when I'm away and mad when I come back. I was redirected here from AITA saying I might get better advice here. My family has a home that we regularly go to for lawn upkeep and checking the mail and occasional overnight stays, but nobody lives in actively. My next door neighbor has decided this means her and her children have free use of my driveway. Her kids will play and draw in chalk on my driveway, which wouldn't inherently bother me if my neighbor had asked one of the many times they've seen me or my family over there. The recent incident that has really wanted to make me ask them to stop using my driveway is because I went over to the house to spray weed killer on the driveway and saw a bike laying there. The neighbors were outside, and instead of getting up and moving the bike so I could pull into my driveway, they just stared at me and watched me have to park on the street. I ended up having to move the bike myself when I went to spray. The mom then started yelling loud enough for me to hear while I was spraying that her kids had to go back inside because I was spraying the driveway. I was annoyed but just let it go because I wanted to spray and leave. When I returned a few days later to check on the weeds, I noticed the strip of them that went down the middle of our driveways was mysteriously still green and the rest were dead. I believe that my neighbors poured water on the middle part to wash it away. This also isn't the first time items have been left in my driveway and the neighbor not apologizing. She usually goes inside and tells her daughter, who's like 5, to apologize to me. I'm tired of being made to feel like I'm a bad person for coming to my own property. Edit, first of all, thank you so much everyone. Didn't expect this to get traction at all. To clarify a couple of things, we do intend on talking to them first. We were just posting hoping to know we weren't out of line to ask them to stop since we don't live there. Secondly, to the fence point people keep making. Our driveways literally touch, one is concrete and one is asphalt, so putting a fence up is more of a headache than we'd like to do basically. First, send them a letter using certified mail. Inform them that they are not welcome on your property and sign it. Keep a copy and the returned receipt. Second, put up no trespassing signs on your property. This may seem like an asshole thing to do, but you are ignoring a major problem. In the US, ignore me if I'm wrong on country. You are liable for any accidents that happen on your property. Let's say kid put one of those plants with weed killer in their mouth. Then their parents can sue you for putting out poison when their child was allowed on your property. If you had a pool and a child fell in and drowned, same thing. Letting anyone on your property without your knowledge and approval is very dangerous, and you need to have evidence that you did not give them permission and that they were injured while trespassing. Also, set up a Ring or a wireless camera just in case. Outdoor cameras on a mostly vacant property are always a good idea. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but your property is private property, so if she or her brood enter onto your property, i.e. front yard and driveway, that is trespassing. Not sure what you can do other than install cameras and consult with local police as to what you can do. Can't understand why anyone let their kids play in someone else's yard without permission. I really don't get it either. I get that our driveway are next to each other, but they're made of completely different materials, so they can't even play dumb like they didn't realize. Next time, just run over the bike. Oops, didn't see it lying there on my property. The temptation has been so high, believe me. Don't want to be mean to the kids though, lol. Only the mom. Definitely a no trespassing sign and a letter stating that you don't want them on your property, dated, signed by you and one other person as a witness and copied multiple times. In the letter you should put you are not liable for any incidents occurring by anyone trespassing as they were there without permission. Also good idea to have a camera. Also good to talk to nice neighbors around your house. They can be a valuable asset. You might even get them to hold on to a copy of the letter. We have a nice neighbor on the other side of the house that we're going to ask. One, just to see if they're also doing anything else on the property that we should be concerned about, but also to see if she's be willing to have the letter or help. Send them a letter saying they don't have permission to use your driveway, or they do only under X circumstances, so they can't claim adverse possession. They'd probably lose, but people who pull that can make a homeowner's life miserable. Giving any kind of circumstance could create a give an inch take a mile situation. You let us use it last time. OP needs to go cold turkey and firmly start saying no to all use. Entitled stepmother wants me to stop breastfeeding. So context here. I'm F28 and had my daughter, Ida, 3 months ago, my wife F35 Taylor. My stepmother Mary 45 and stepbrother Tom 11. Tom and I weren't close until I was pregnant. During the pregnancy he became really interested in me and the baby and actually became quite clingy and needy on me. I felt weird, but when I tried to retreat, Mary and my dad said I was being cruel and miserable and I had the chance to be a good sister but was being selfish and rejecting him. Along with the pregnancy hormones, it made me feel guilty, so I let him still come round a lot. Taylor has a chilled attitude, so has kept calm and just said she wants what I want, even though he has become resentful of her. I made it clear she was my wife and any disrespect to her would mean he had to leave. He became focused on my bump and was touching it all the time. Mary thinks he's autistic, but no doctor has ever diagnosed him. I had Ida 3 months ago and she's the best baby ever. She's so perfect and I've loved seeing my wife become a mother. She's a natural at it and it's depend our love for each other. I've decided to breastfeed and then pump so Taylor can use the bottle to feed as well. It's been going pretty smoothly and honestly it's something that allows us to bond with Ida. Often Taylor will lay with me whilst I breastfeed and we will spend time together with Ida sleeping on my chest. Apparently Tom was very angry when he wasn't allowed into the hospital to see me or the baby, and he kicked off when we said only my mom and Mael were allowed over until 2 weeks postpartum. When they did come over he kept touching Ida's face even though we had asked not to, as we are both in the medical profession so don't want to expose our newborn to germs. When we had to get firm, Mary told us we were being horrible to a child and needed to stop. I had to feed, so went to the nursery, but he had followed, and when I started feeding he came in and watched before I realized he was there, and he stared asking me questions about breastfeeding. That was fine. But he's been watching me feed whenever he comes over when I don't realize, and then whenever he's been near me he's started saying booby and reaching for my boobs and saying he wants to try, and it's unfair, only Ida gets it. We've tried reminding him that he's a big boy and she's only a baby. But then last week I woke up from a post-feeding nap to find him lead on top of me with his hands and face on my chest area. When we tried telling Mary and my dad that this was getting out of hand, she said we were discriminating against his autism. And we just didn't understand that I was his special person he focused on and I should be honored. I told her it had to stop as I was uncomfortable, and Mary said if I wanted him to stop I would have to stop breastfeeding as it was cruel to tease him without. This is stupid, right? My boobs did get significantly bigger during my pregnancy and have stayed that way after giving birth, so I could see how he would notice them, but it still feels wrong. Edit for context, we don't live with them. I had a traumatic birth where my planned C-section turned into an emergency one, with me nearly losing all my blood and having to have a transfusion. This has caused me a lot of emotional distress and confusion postpartum, which has made it easier for stepmom to guilt trip me. Taylor is a great wife and mother, however she is also a doctor, so work is busy and she has had to carry on working after the first 3 weeks post-birth. This made my skin crawl. Even if he is autistic, they need to teach him boundaries. You have every right to be weirded out by this. My skin is crawling also, that's just freaky. Having someone gawking at you while you're breastfeeding is too weird. Gives me the creeps thinking about it. Exactly. Autism isn't an excuse to just do whatever you want. He can learn to behave decently and be respectful. The problem is that his parents aren't teaching him anything. The kid is 11 years old and not your brother. He feels some kind of way about you and it's not healthy. I distance myself from this kid honestly. There's something weird going in here with him. Don't leave your baby around him unattended for even a moment. I agree. There's something a little weird about this whole thing. She needs to put boundaries down. As the mother of an autistic child, I need you to tell your stepmother that she has to start setting definite boundaries now, otherwise he's going to be uncontrollable when he becomes an adult. Most sons are stronger than their mothers, and taller. My son is 4 inches taller than me, and he's stronger than me since he has no awareness barrier to stop him using all of his strength when he's upset. Because I've had definite boundaries in place since he was young, my authority is what he responds to. But, first, she needs to get him properly diagnosed. Google diagnoses are rubbish. A proper diagnosis is needed, instead of claiming, possibly incorrectly, that he's autistic. There are many others disabilities it could be. But you need to limit his visits to you until he's on a proper pathway to understanding boundaries. He may try again. He may hurt your baby if you refuse him. Don't let them guilt you over this. This is to protect you and your baby. Yes, OP, this is stupid. He very well may be autistic. That doesn't mean he can't learn. You also may be his person. That doesn't mean you have no say over what makes you uncomfortable. Good luck, Red Heart. There was a story here about a girl that was tapped on the butt and had her boobs grabbed by a boy that was supposedly autistic, but only after that way around her. She was told that she was his person and just to accept it. Sadly, I don't remember the outcome. But boundaries can be set. You need to stop allowing Tom and his mother over. She also needs to be putting a stop to Tom's behavior instead of, but family, but autism. Tom is not your brother, he's your dad's wife's son and you don't owe him shit. Keep them away. Your only priority is your baby, your wife, and yourself. Question: are you living with your stepmom and dad? If so, you need to get out of there. If you are living apart from them, then you need to enforce boundaries and tell them they are no longer welcome to visit you. Let your wife know that this is what you've decided and you don't want them nor Tom near you because clearly they are not enforcing boundaries with him, so you have to do it. I'm confused why OP is allowing this to happen. Dad and his family need to be cut off. OP has her own now. Your son isn't allowed back into my home until you've taught him what he's doing is not okay. I have a child with autism and they absolutely understand things like this. It's his parents' lack of parenting that's the issue here. If it were your wife who was pregnant and now breastfeeding, would you have allowed this behavior to continue? No. Would you choose seeing your family over your wife's comfort and boundaries? No. Then why accept it for yourself? You need to tell them the visits are done until you say so and they can deal with the kid's behavior since they are his parents. Entitled Stepmother Wants Me to Stop Breastfeeding, Update. Hi guys. It's been a while but I still get comments on the OG post, so thought I'd provide a small update. Taylor and I reinforced our boundaries to Mary and my father regarding Tom. How my only focus was on my baby and wife and that his obsessive behavior was starting to get inappropriate when he became fixated on my breasts. And whilst I hoped he was okay and received any help he needed, I had to prioritize my family, so would be going low contact. This created a shitstorm from Mary and Tom. I was receiving phone calls from Tom all hours of the day and night, screaming and crying down the phone asking why I didn't love him anymore and why I had abandoned him, why Ida was so much more important to me. Why, if I could breastfeed Ida, why wouldn't I do the same for him if I actually loved him? With my hormones still all over the place, I let Taylor deal with most of it and I focused on my health and Ida's health. We asked Mary why she wasn't stopping it and getting Tom help, but she spouted some bullshit about letting him deal with his emotions independently. As I previously mentioned, my wife is a doctor. As am I, but I'm more junior than her. I have since returned to work, so we've been sending Ida to our hospital's daycare, which means she gets to socialize with lots of other kids. However, since going back, Tom has called my workplace multiple times, leaving messages for me which make me seem like a horrible cow who was ignoring her little brother. The latest news is that he told one of his teachers how I was his special person, which they had already known about from during my pregnancy when he'd grown the attachment, but I had abandoned him and was rejecting him ever since I'd given birth to Ida. He told them that I was punishing him and it was making him so sad he'd been coming into school crying. This made them call B and almost berate me on how I can't abandon my brother just because I have a baby now. I explained to inappropriate behavior surrounding myself and my body and they became more understanding of the situation. My father and Mary have been doing absolutely nothing except from taking him to some sort of non-conventional therapist who preaches independent emotional behavior. Instead of low contact, please go no contact. Even if it causes problems, you'll feel so much relief when you block them all over his frankly, extremely creepy and obsessive behavior. I'm autistic, but that's not an excuse to be a raging pervert over a family member. Please cut them out, move and never tell them your new address. And if they continue to harass you, please get restraining orders. You need to report your dad and Mary to CPS and stop answering messages. If you get Tom on message wanting you to breastfeed him, I am sure CPS will intervene hopefully. I came to say this. Totally agree with handling this over to CPS. Block all these people from contacting you. If they persist, have an attorney send a cease and desist letter. It's past time for stronger measures including locked doors and no visits. You need to block them and stop letting Tom near you and the baby. You need to tell stepmom to stay away, and if they keep harassing both you and Taylor, you will need a restraining order. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.